Thank you. Thank you, Pyle, for the insightful presentation and my personal conclusions. If we summarize a little bit, so first of all, regardless of what kind of a technology are we talking about, and in this case, this is blockchain, it's still client first and the business case first, rather than technology first. At the same time, to me, blockchain is really one of the new technologies that really enable new business models. So even though we applying it to pretty traditional conservative sectors like retail, for example, added this tiny bit of a technology can actually enable new business models and new services and new ways of engagement with the market and even with your existing clients and employees. And the very important conclusion is that there is already a way for enterprises, even though they are not very good at the blockchain internally, but try to use it in some of the very practical and down-to-earth scenarios in their business, securing their data, or maybe enabling some new business cases, as I said. And this is not necessarily should cost them a fortune, and it not necessarily will take them light years, right? Because if we would have this conversation like 3 years ago or something, so normally we started talking about hundreds of thousands just for making very first steps. So now this not the case anymore, and this is great because actually this simplifies adoption and the stepping into this world for many enterprises. And we have a question here, and this is interesting one about the human factor. So using a blockchain in scenario of elimination of intermediaries affecting traditional business models such as notary or custodian, can you feel resistance from these and other conservative intermediary businesses in adoption of blockchain?
Indeed, but since effectively only a fraction of % of companies are using asking for blockchain, then it's not that strong yet. Like we see the resistance of banks for Bitcoin trade for multiple reasons, because they feel that, okay, the international transfers now are used through different channels for some audience, not for everybody, but for some. And for the issuance of assets, it's a fraction, still very small amount of people would be doing that right now. Number will increase, but it's not yet so much kind of noticeable. Maybe because sending money overseas, it's kind of an urgent task. You can send and receive, and you don't kind of care how it's done. It's basically, if it's done, it's done. So the adoption of international transfer, or the adoption of Bitcoin, for example, for international transfers is much higher than adoption of issuance of digital securities on blockchain. And even if the most complicated process, it's not going to notary or to broker. The most complicated process is preparing a proposal, the papers for the issuance to be compliant, even for under the crowdfunding law. So the companies who can pass that, they want the investors to feel safe. That's what stops the fast adoption for now. But at some point, I mean, big players will be doing that because they will feel that they can outperform the competition.
Right, and we have a couple more questions from the audience. The first is coming from Adamola. Can you explain the difference between permissioned and permissionless blockchain using some of the cases?
In most cases that I provided, the blockchain is permissioned. So it's for company use. Permissionless blockchain needed when you want no one to be able to interfere with your transactions. Like Bitcoin again is the case, and DeFi is the case. Even now, centralized exchanges are much less attractive because they have a lot of KYC and AML. I would say, if you have very sensitive data and you shouldn't have any risks of tampering with this data, you can use public blockchain to ensure integrity, because it's much harder to break public blockchain to change the data. It will be much more expensive to use, but anyway, if somebody wants to work outside of regulatory environment, then public blockchain, censorship resistant or permissionless are the choice. If you're working within the regulatory environment, then permissioned will be cheaper at the end. So it might not be the case right in the moment, just because it's still not rational yet. People use what's most popular and not what's most efficient. But over years, it most likely we will have the like different scenarios applied to different cases. So that would be it.
Can you advise how a closed enterprise environment should handle the requirements for proof of work, a fundamental concept in blockchain technology?
Okay, I will disagree with that. It's fundamental concept in blockchain technology, because it's fundamental when you have this censorship-resistant blockchain and permissionless. Then, for now, it's still fundamental, but we have some proof of work that is also having the same security requirements. For enterprise blockchain, you never should use proof of work. Never, ever forget about that. So you should use BFT, FBA consensus, proof of authority. There are multiple, because then it's based on the trust between participants. Trust that they can find each other, at least, that their reputation is at stake. Proof of work needed only when you don't have any identities, you don't know how many people participate in, and you will never know. Then you can only use proof of stake. In other cases, that was actually a lot of mistakes from enterprises. They wanted to put something on blockchain in 2015. I've seen huge banks that are doing that, and they replaced Bitcoin with their own bank coin, leaving proof of work, and then asking, okay, who will be our nodes? Who will be mining our chain? And that's a useless question, because you cannot mine dollars.
Yes, thank you for that. Makes perfect sense to me, for example. The next question is, there are many blockchain solutions in the market, Hyperledger, multi-chain. Can you recommend any for an enterprise project?
Again, my answer will be a little bit tricky, because if you have a POC that needs to be done, technology-wise, if you're selecting the blockchain platform, doesn't matter too much. What matters is how you apply and to what you apply. Because all this technology will be evolving very fast, and you cannot keep up with them for most cases. So, for example, we have token D, which is it's like Hyperledger, but less functionality in terms of the functions on the blockchain level, but more functionality in terms of business logic and user interface and management of data. So full stack. But for token D, for example, we use Stellar processing engine, which I used to work in Stellar, and when we started, natural choice. But as well, we could choose Hyperledger as the processing engine, or multi-chain, or something else. So because investing in the processing of the blockchain level requires like dozens of millions of dollars at least. Investing in the vertical stack requires a few $1 million. That's what we did. So if you do in a POC, doesn't really matter what you choose. I mean, obviously, if you choose, answer to previous question, if you choose the blockchain platform that needs proof of work and you have some business case, normal business case with an enterprise, it won't go well at some point. So choosing those that don't have, that have suitable consensus, that have suitable mechanisms that will fit. For that, in most cases, you need like a few hours of consulting just to not to do some painful mistakes.
I see.
But Hyperledger would be a safe answer. Yeah, would be. We have a few projects that are using Hyperledger and the token D modules on top. When the client specifically asked, I said, I want IBM, nothing else. For other cases, we use our stuff that, again, we built using the processing center, transaction processing stellar based.
Yeah, thank you for that. And it's interesting that the token D is a platform. As far as I understand, it is blockchain agnostic. So, and this is clearly one of the benefits. And you mentioned IBM, and I cannot stop myself from asking a little bit provocative question, as many of us seen in the news recently that IBM is restructuring its blockchain team. And restructuring, as far as I understand, is a polite way of saying there will be no blockchain department in the IBM anymore, or at least it will change dramatically, and therefore it will affect the product and the platform they've been building for years. Is that kind of a trend? Is there just is this just a specific case with the IBM and the changes in their strategy? Or this is a signal to the market and to the enterprise technology world that something's going to change? What's your view on that?
I think it's easier to a certain extent. Like IBM released 2.2 LTS version, so which is more than enough to build something. It's a lot of functionality in there, which is not super consistent with each other, but you can use it. Others to build a blockchain platform like that requires like dozens, in case of IBM, hundreds of millions of dollars. I mean, it's super expensive. But the key innovation in the technology side, like innovation happens usually like that, like steps. It's not like this or like something else. So we passed the few necessary steps to build on top. And now we need innovation in terms of business models, in terms of understanding of how systems should cooperate. Not in a technical way, but in a legal way, in a procedures, organizational way. So I would say that's totally fine. I'm pretty sure that they will continue at some point. They just probably haven't found the use case that pays off enough. I know that they're very focused on the supply chain management. They made a lot of projects, but then I don't know how successful they were. Because again, there was a temptation to just launch something on blockchain and wait. So I think it will all return with refined business requirements and refined requirements to technology, and that will continue. But for now, the fastest growing market is like DeFi, because it allows you unregulated trade of something. I mean, still people like to trade, and innovations happen there, and a lot of new tools are developed there, but for very narrow case. We'll see how it goes. In my opinion, for the enterprise use, you don't need to have much of technology. So we have more than enough on the market to cover 95, 99% of business cases, except for some advanced zero-knowledge proofs and homomorphic encryption. The rest is covered. It's like bricks are there. Now you need to learn how to assemble bricks into houses and how to do stuff again, like electricity, connection of water, and building city. Building house is not hard anymore. So I think we're totally fine. And I see like last year was for us meant a lot of new projects, like dramatic increase compared to 2019. 2021 is so far even better. Probably because of crypto and blockchain. I think there will be a drop of interest in 21. And then from 23, 24, we will have a steady growth of enterprise cases, and there will be a kind of more refined approach to building them.
Right. Yeah, I fully back what you just said, because adoption is always not easy, and the more technology is really revolutionary, the longer it takes to adopt it. So that's just history, right? And the blockchain simply would not be an exception in this history. So thank you very much. We kind of run out of time already, even though we have some questions left, including in the clubhouse, for example. But you are more than welcome to approach Pavel and myself using the email or our accounts in the social network. And I just would like to say thank you to all the participants, and we had a great conversation, I think. And just to remind you that there are more events coming through the demystifyingdigital.net platform. So you're very welcome to register for our upcoming events, which we normally do on a monthly basis, and they're dedicated to disruptive technologies, but not just technologies, but techniques and the business application of the technologies, because today we just got yet another confirmation of the fact that the business case is always the priority, and only then you should think about how a particular technology like blockchain can help you achieving your goals with your business case. So Pavel, thank you very much for your time. That was great, and we lots of messages in the chat saying that thank you very much for insightful presentation, many thanks for the qualitative conversation, and so on and so forth. So thank you very much. Have a lovely day to all of us, and see you probably in several weeks on the next event of the Demystifying Digital. Thank you very much, and take care.
Thank you. Bye.